I want you to picture a scene with me. Close your eyes for just a second. It's the mid-17th century. We're on the island of Kyushu in Japan. And it's raining. Like that kind of heavy, relentless rain that just completely soaks into the earth.
Right, and we're climbing a mountain, specifically Mount Iwado. We're heading up toward a cave known as Rigondo, the Spirit Rock Cave.
Yeah, and inside this cave, the air is really damp. It probably smells of wet stone, maybe old moss, and likely the burning of incense. And sitting all the way in the back of this cave, by candlelight, is an old man. He's 60 years old.
Which, I mean, for that time period, and especially for his profession, is absolutely ancient.
Totally. This is Shinmin Musashi no Kami Fujiwara no Harunobu, better known to history as Miyamoto Musashi, and he's in really bad shape.
He is. We believe he was suffering from thoracic cancer at this point in his life. He's incredibly weak. He has trouble even standing up. The man who fought over 60 duels to the death, the guy who defeated entire schools of swordsmanship single-handedly, can barely lift his own body weight.
But the thing is, he's not in this cave to die. Well, I mean, he is, but that's not his core purpose. He's sitting at a low table with a brush and some paper. He's writing.
He's essentially fighting his final battle. And this battle isn't against a rival swordsman. It's not against the Yoshioka clan. It's against the limitations of language itself. He's trying to take a lifetime of, violence, strategy, and enlightenment and distill it into something that can actually be passed on.
And he's already written the first 4 scrolls: earth, water, fire, wind. We've covered those in our previous explorations of his work. Those were all about the tangible things, right? The stance, the grip, the rhythm of the cut, the psychology of your opponent.
Exactly. Tangible, highly practical things. But now he reaches the very end. The 5th scroll. The Scroll of Emptiness. In Japanese, kust, the void.
And this is exactly where the road sort of runs out for a lot of people. If this episode helps you, please hit like and subscribe for the next one. Because up until now, Musashi has been very literal. Stand like this, hold the sword like that. But now he starts talking about emptiness, and I think a lot of modern readers just tune out. It sounds, I don't know, abstract, like poetry instead of strategy.
And that is the trap. The absolute biggest mistake you can make is to think this scroll is just some poetic sign-off. Musashi considered this the core of everything. If earth is the foundation, the void is the roof. It's the state of mind that makes every single one of those other physical techniques possible.
So today we're going to try to do the impossible, on-screen text, the Scroll of Emptiness. We're going to take this esoteric concept of the void, of emptiness, and translate it into a modern practical tool for absolute clarity, something you can use on a busy morning when your inbox is just exploding.
That's the mission, bringing the void into the everyday.
Let's start with the word itself, though. Emptiness. When I hear that word, my brain goes straight to a vacuum. I think of outer space. Or, honestly, I think of apathy or nihilism. Just, nothing matters.
That's definitely the Western connotation, for sure. We associate empty with lacking. But we really have to look at the kanji, the character for ku. It can mean sky. It can mean heaven. It isn't just an absence of something.
Okay, so it isn't just a zero. It's not just a blank space.
Think of a cup. If a cup is completely full of tea, you can't put anything else into it. Its usefulness is rigidly limited because it's full. But if the cup is empty, it has infinite potential. It can hold water, wine, gold, poison. Its actual value comes from its emptiness.
Oh, I see. So Musashi isn't talking about a void where literally nothing exists. He's talking about a space where anything can exist.
Right. Musashi actually writes that by knowing things that exist, you can know that which does not exist.
Which, I gotta admit, sounds a bit like a riddle you'd hear a wise master say in an old martial arts movie.
It does sound like a riddle. But let's break it down practically. Musashi is obsessed with reality. He despises decoration. He hates flowery techniques that look cool but fail in a real fight.
So when he talks about the void, he is talking about ultimate reality.
Ultimate reality. What does that actually mean in plain English?
It means seeing the world without your own personal junk getting in the way.
My junk.
Yeah, your baggage, your fears, your assumptions, your ego. The void is that rare state of mind where you completely stop projecting your own internal story onto the world and you just see what is actually physically there.
I really want to dig into that. On-screen text. Emptiness is clean perception. Because seeing what's there sounds so incredibly easy. Like, I'm looking at you right now, I see the microphone, I see the desk, I'm seeing what is there. Why do I need a mystical void for that?
Do you really see what's there, though? Or do you see your interpretation of those things?
Give me an example of the difference.
Let's take a high-stakes, everyday example.
Yep.
You're in a meeting at work. You're pitching an idea, and your boss frowns while you're speaking. What do you see? I see that he hates my idea. I see that my project is doomed. I see that I probably should have prepared more.
Right. But what did your eyes actually physically see?
I mean, I guess I saw the muscles in his forehead contract.
Correct. You saw a facial muscle contraction. That is the baseline reality. He hates my idea is the story you layered on top of it. I'm going to get fired is the fear you projected onto it. The void, emptiness, is the ability to separate that mere muscle contraction from your fear of unemployment.
Wow. That sounds incredibly difficult to do in the moment.
It is the hardest thing in the world. That's exactly why it's the final scroll. Because our human brains are literally wired to add the story. We're meaning-making machines. We survived evolution by constantly predicting threats. But in the modern world, and honestly, even in the sword fight, those quick predictions are very often wrong. And if they're wrong in combat, you die. If they're wrong in life, you blow the deal or ruin the relationship.
So emptiness is really just clean perception. It's perceiving without the filter.
That is the perfect phrase for it. Clean perception. It's about wiping the lens of your mind clean. There's an analogy that comes up a lot in the source material, the mirror. Musashi talks about the mind needing to be like a brilliantly polished mirror.
See, here's my issue with the mirror analogy. A mirror is an inanimate object. It doesn't have feelings. It doesn't have a mortgage to pay. It doesn't have social anxiety. It's super easy for a piece of glass to just reflect because it simply doesn't care. I'm a human being. I care a lot. So how can I possibly be a mirror?
You're completely right. You aren't a glass object. But think strictly about the function of that mirror. If you stand in front of a mirror holding a beautiful flower, what does the mirror do?
It reflects the flower.
Does it say, wow, what a lovely flower, I want to keep this?
No, it just shows it.
Right. Now, if you stand in front of it with a burning torch, what does it do?
It reflects the fire?
Does the mirror get burned? Does it scream? Does it judge you for holding fire?
No. It just shows the light bouncing off the object.
And when you walk away from it, does the mirror hold on to the image of the flower or the fire? Does it harbor a memory of what it just saw?
No, it goes back to being empty. It clears instantly.
And that is the ideal. The mirror reflects perfectly, instantly, and without any distortion. But crucially, it doesn't cling to the image. Musashi is saying that in a fight, if you cling to your last move, if you think, oh, I made a mistake, or haha, I really got him, then you are not present for the next move. And it's always the next move that kills you.
So the void isn't about shutting down your emotions. It's about not letting those emotions stick to the glass.
Exactly. It's about not letting the reflection distort the reality. Musashi writes that in the void is virtue and no evil. He means that when you strip away your selfish delusions, your momentary panic, your desperate desire to look cool in front of others, what is left is the bare truth. And the truth is the only firm ground you can fight from.
I really like that. The truth is the only place you can fight from, because if you're out there fighting a phantom, you're just swinging blindly at the air.
And you will get exhausted. And then you will get cut.
Okay, so we've got a solid definition now. Emptiness is not a vacuum. It is the absence of confusion. It is the polished mirror. But you and I live in the real world, not a monastery or a cave. And frankly, my mirror is usually pretty dirty.
Oh, mine too. Constantly.
Let's talk about that dirt then. What actually creates the confusion? What is this fog of self that blocks the void?
The sources identify a few primary blockers. These are the specific things that smudge up the mirror. First, we have assumptions disguised as facts.
This goes right back to the boss frowning in the meeting.
It applies to virtually everything we do. We navigate the world using a rigid map of assumptions. My partner is being quiet, so they must be furious with me. The stock market had a bad week, so it's going to crash completely. I am terrible at public speaking.
And we treat these passing thoughts like hard, undeniable data.
We do. We never say, I have a working theory that I might be bad at public speaking. We say, I am bad at it. We make it an absolute, unshakable truth. And once you do that, you physically stop seeing reality. You only look for evidence that supports your negative assumption.
On-screen text. Confusion comes from attachment. That's pure confirmation bias.
Exactly. If you've already assumed your partner is mad at you, every single thing they do looks like an act of aggression. If they wash the dishes loudly, it's aggressive. If they sit quietly, they're giving you the silent treatment. You're trapped inside your own hall of mirrors.
What's the next blocker we need to watch out for?
Emotional urgency. That intense, overwhelming sense of crisis. The feeling that everything is an emergency and I must do something right this second.
Oh man, I know this one intimately. This is me sitting in gridlock traffic, or me when a supposedly urgent email comes in right at the end of the workday.
Musashi warns us constantly against the affliction of fixation. When we get highly emotional, our vision literally physically narrows. We get tunnel vision. Biologically, your peripheral vision shuts down so your brain can focus entirely on the perceived threat.
There's a really famous study in our research notes about exactly this, that inattentional blindness study involving the police officer. I was reviewing this last night, and it is absolutely wild. Can you walk us through what happened?
Yeah, this is a classic case study in perception. It happened in Boston back in the mid-90s. There was a chaotic incident where a police officer named Kenny Conley was chasing a murder suspect on foot.
So incredibly high stakes. His adrenaline must have been completely maxed out.
Maximum intensity.
Yeah.
It's late at night. Conley is sprinting down the street, actively pursuing this guy. He chases him toward a chain link fence. His entire being is focused solely on capturing this one fleeing suspect.
Got it. He's locked on.
Now, at the exact same time, just a short distance away on that very same sidewalk, an undercover officer was being brutally beaten by a group of other officers who had mistaken his identity. It was a massive, violent brawl, very loud, very visible.
And Conley ran right past
So he
it.
ran right past the entire thing. He eventually captured his suspect. But later, when the brutal assault on the undercover cop came to light, the investigators brought Conley in and asked him, "Who did you see beating him up?" And Conley honestly answered, "I didn't see anyone beating anyone up."
And obviously nobody believed him.
Right. The prosecutors, the media, the jury, they all assumed he was lying to protect his colleagues. And they thought, how could you possibly run past a massive violent fight under streetlights and just not see it? They thought it was physically impossible. So they convicted him of perjury.
Because they assumed he was just upholding the blue wall of silence.
That was the universal assumption. But years later, cognitive researchers, the same people who did that famous invisible gorilla psychology experiment, looked into this specific case. They actually simulated the exact conditions. They had test subjects run down a path chasing a jogger while a staged fight happened right next to the path.
And what did they find?
A huge percentage of the subjects completely failed to see the fight, even in broad daylight. When the human brain is fixated on a single, urgent goal like catching a suspect, it literally edits out the rest of the world. It deletes reality.
So Conley wasn't lying at all. He was literally blind to it.
He was suffering from severe inattentional blindness. His perceiving eye, the eye driven by urgency and emotion, was so intensely locked on the target that his observing eye, the broader eye of the void, was completely shut.
That is genuinely terrifying, because we all walk around thinking we see everything perfectly, but we're carrying these massive blind spots created entirely by our own focused urgency.
That is the ultimate cost of confusion. That's the cost of lacking the void. You completely miss the reality right in front of your face because you're too busy chasing your narrow objective.
Which perfectly brings us to the final blocker, identity attachment.
This is the absolute heaviest armor we wear. The rigid idea of who I think I am.
Give me a practical example of how that blocks us.
Let's say you strongly identify as a nice person. That's your core story. I am always a nice person. Then you inevitably do something selfish, because we all do. You snap impatiently at a waiter or you cut someone off in traffic.
Sure, happens to everyone.
If your internal attachment to being a flawless, nice person is too strong, you physically cannot admit to that selfish act. You will immediately rationalize it. You'll say, well, the waiter was rude to me first, or I was in a terrible rush, so it's justified. You vigorously defend your identity rather than simply admitting the bare reality of your action.
So my mirror is distorted because I've essentially painted a flattering portrait of myself right on the glass.
Exactly. You pasted a heavily filtered selfie right in the middle of the mirror, and now you literally can't see anything else.
Okay, so we have the definition. Clean perception. We know the enemies. Assumptions, urgency, identity. Now, let's look at the actual solution. Clarity as a discipline. Because this doesn't sound like a switch you can just flip.
No, you don't just decide one morning to enter the void. It's a rigorous practice. It's a mental muscle you have to build. And Musashi gives us a very technical, specific way to train this. He distinguishes between two distinct types of sight.
The two eyes.
Right, the observing eye and the perceiving eye. In Japanese, that's kan no mi and ken no mi.
Break those two down for us.
The perceiving eye, kan no mi, is the weak eye. It is the eye that looks directly at things. It focuses entirely on the surface details. It locks onto the enemy's moving sword. It gets caught by the shiny distraction. It's the eye that flinches.
So it's the Boston police officer staring exclusively at the suspect's back.
Precisely. It is intense, but it is dangerously narrow.
On-screen text. Observe without distortion and the observing eye.
Kanome, the observing eye. This is the strong eye. It doesn't look at things. It looks through things. It sees the whole picture simultaneously. It doesn't get mesmerized by the swinging sword. It focuses on the empty space between the swords. It perceives the rhythm. It senses the opponent's underlying intent.
I'm trying to picture how this feels in a modern context. Is it sort of like driving a car?
Driving is a fantastic analogy. Think back to when you first learned to drive. You were terrified, right? What were your eyes doing?
Oh, they were glued to the hood of my car. Or staring directly at the bumper of the car immediately in front of me. I was gripping the steering wheel so hard my hands hurt.
That is the perceiving eye. You were completely fixated on the most immediate perceived threat. And because of that fixation, your ride was probably jerky. You hit the brakes too late, you overcorrected and swerved.
I was a menace on the road, truly.
But what about now? You've been driving for years. How do you look at the road today?
I don't really look at any one specific thing. I kind of just see the whole flow of traffic. I notice the brake lights flashing 5 cars ahead. I vaguely register a pedestrian stepping off the curb way over in my periphery. My body is relaxed.
That right there is the observing eye. You're seeing the overarching pattern, not just hyper-focusing on the individual pieces. In that state, you are operating in the void.
Wow.
Modern sports psychology actually calls this the quiet eye. Researchers have done extensive eye-tracking studies on elite world-class athletes, basketball players, professional golfers.
And what do they find when they track them?
Before taking a free throw, a novice player's eyes are frantically darting everywhere. They look at the rim, down at the ball, over to the crowd, back to their hands. But the elite player, their gaze softly locks onto one single spot on the rim and just stays there, quiet, perfectly still. For long duration, they have deliberately simplified the frame.
Simplify the frame. That feels like a massive key instruction here.
It is the key. The void isn't about trying to frantically see every single chaotic detail all at once. It's about deliberately removing the mental noise so you can easily spot the true signal. Musashi explicitly says, do not let your mind stop. If your mind stops and gets snagged on the enemy's shiny sword, you're dead. If your mind stops on that rude email from your coworker, you're paralyzed. You have to keep the mind continuously flowing.
This sounds a lot like the concept of mushin, right? No mush.
Doshin. The mind of no mind, which is honestly a terrible translation for English speakers. Makes it sound like you're supposed to be a zombie, just, completely brain dead.
Yeah, just totally blank and unresponsive.
Right, but what it actually means is a mind that doesn't stick to anything. A mind that flows smoothly like a river. It perceives a threat, acts on it appropriately, and instantly moves on. Doesn't get bogged down in anxious thoughts like, what if I miss this shot? Or what if I look foolish failing?
The quote we have in the research notes here is, act from what you can see, not what you fear.
That really should be a bumper sticker. Act from what you can actually see. Because what you can clearly see is finite and manageable. What you fear is completely infinite.
That is so profound. What you fear is infinite. Because, my imagination can easily conjure up 1,000 horrifying worst-case scenarios in a fraction of a second. But baseline reality usually only presents one specific, solvable problem at a time.
And you can successfully solve one problem. You cannot simultaneously solve 1,000 imaginary ones.
On-screen text. Calm is active power. This naturally brings us to the paradox of the void, because whenever I hear words like calm, flow, mirror, or void, I immediately picture passivity. I picture someone sitting quietly on a meditation cushion, just breathing. But Musashi was a man of intense violence. He was incredibly decisive.
That is the ultimate paradox. True emptiness is full, high-definition awareness, and genuine calm is a highly active, potent power.
Explain that dynamic.
Think about the physical structure of a hurricane.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Right in the very center, in the eye, it is perfectly calm. The sky is blue, the wind is totally dead. But that calm center isn't weak. That calm is the stable anchor for the single most destructive force on Earth. Musashi's calm is the eye of the storm. He isn't calm because he's sleepy or checked out. He's calm because that is the absolute only way to effectively wield the storm.
So we definitely need to set up some clear guardrails here. Because I can totally see people using this philosophy as a convenient excuse to just check out of their responsibilities. Like, oh man, I'm in the void. I just don't care about the deadline anymore.
Musashi hated that attitude. That's what we call false emptiness. So guardrail number 1, emptiness is absolutely not apathy.
It's not a lack of caring.
Quite the opposite.
Yeah.
You care deeply. You care so much that you're willing to actively strip away your own ego and nonsense so you can be truly effective.
Mm.
If you're an emergency room surgeon, you care profoundly about saving that patient's life. That is exactly why you cannot afford the luxury of panic. Panic is ultimately selfish. Clarity is selfless.
That makes sense. Guardrail number 2, emptiness is not denial.
You never, ever pretend the problems don't exist. The void doesn't do the whole matrix there's no spoon routine. The void says, the spoon is heavily bent, the table is currently on fire, and that guy over there is actively swinging a sharp sword at my neck.
So it freely admits the harsh reality.
It admits it instantly, without hesitation. Denial is just another form of attachment. It's an attachment to the way you desperately want things to be instead of how they are. The void rigidly accepts things exactly as they are.
And guardrail number 3, emptiness is not just doing nothing.
Right. True clarity demands action. Once your polished mirror clearly shows you the reflection like, oh, my car is drifting dangerously into the oncoming lane, you don't just sit there peacefully and watch it happen. You vigorously steer the wheel. You move. Musashi was entirely focused on the final cut. Perceive the opening, then instantly cut. Zero gap between seeing and doing.
Okay, I really want to land the plane now. We've been up in the theoretical clouds, or the void, for a good while. Let's get down to ground level with 3 practical examples. I want to apply the void to the messy, incredibly annoying parts of normal life.
Let's do it. Where should we start?
Example 1, work. The state of pure overwhelm. This is basically me every single Monday morning.
Okay, the scenario. You walk into the office. You instantly remember you have 3 conflicting deadlines. Your email inbox is completely flooded. The Slack notifications are pinging nonstop. And you start to feel that very real physical tightness right in the center of your chest.
Yeah, the shallow breathing starts.
Exactly. You are officially in the fog.
Yeah.
You're frantically perceiving everything all at once. You're trying to mentally hold the entire stressful week in your head at this exact second.
So how does the void approach this?
The void approach says, physically clear the frame. Stop trying to hold the future in your mind. The future literally does not exist yet.
And they actually
Choose one clean, incredibly simple next step. Not something vague like, finish the quarterly project. That's way too big. It needs to be, open the text document. Or write the very first sentence. Do that one tiny thing with total unbroken focus. Then, and only then, choose the next step.
So you're deliberately shrinking your entire universe down to the exact size of your immediate action.
You are actively removing the heavy fictional story of, I am so unbelievably busy, I'll never finish all this work. That dramatic story is your actual enemy. The document itself is just a document.
That's powerful. All right, example 2, relationships. The charged assumption.
This one ruins so many days. A partner or a close colleague says something that instantly triggers your defenses. Let's say your spouse walks in and simply asks, did you remember to take out the trash?
Oh, I know this. My emotional perceiving eye instantly hears, you are incredibly lazy. You always forget everything. I constantly have to act like your mother.
Exactly. And so you immediately snap back. You say, I'm literally doing it right now. Get off my back.
And boom, now we're having a huge fight.
But you aren't actually fighting your spouse. You are fighting the hostile ghost you just invented in your own head. You're going to war with an implication that might not even exist.
So what is the void move in that exact split second?
On-screen text. Drop the story. The void approach is to forcefully return to the bare facts. What was actually spoken? Physically, what were the sound waves? Did you remember to take out the trash? It is a binary yes or no question.
And the action is just to drop the story I've wrapped around it.
Yes. Drop the drama. Just answer the calm reality of the question. Say, no, I haven't gotten to it yet. Do you need it done right this very second?
It sounds so incredibly simple when we discuss it calmly here, but man, it requires so much discipline to catch yourself in the tiny fraction of a second before the anger spikes.
That is the whole point of the training. It's a daily, hourly discipline.
Let's hit the final example, habits. The infamous guilt spiral.
This specific mental trap destroys more personal goals than almost anything else. You're on a strict diet. You're doing phenomenally well for weeks. Then you have a bad night and you slip. You eat an entire pizza by yourself.
And the mind immediately spirals out of control. I am hopelessly undisciplined. I always fail at everything I try. What is the point of even trying? I might as well just quit now and eat a tub of ice cream too.
The classic all or nothing fallacy.
What's the void approach here?
Drop the timeline. The past, that pizza you ate 10 minutes ago, does not exist in the void. It is gone. It is literally nothing but an electrical memory in your brain. only right now exists.
So the action.
Do the immediate next right action. Go drink a tall glass of cold water, step outside and go for a brisk walk. Hit the reset button immediately. The void doesn't sit around judging you for what happened an hour ago. It simply looks around and asks, what is true right now?
That is so incredibly liberating. It means you aren't permanently chained to your past mistakes. You can grab the sword and cut the chain every single second of the day.
You can always reset. Musashi explicitly teaches that the way is found strictly in the immediate present moment, not yesterday's mistakes, not tomorrow's anxieties, just now.
I really want to try putting this into practice. We have a guided exercise ready. We're calling it the Void Reset. I'm going to quickly walk us through the steps, and I want you to jump in and guide us on exactly why we are doing them. And honestly, I'm going to actually do this physically right now as we record. Listeners, if you're in a safe place to do so, join me.
Obviously, if you're currently driving a car or operating heavy machinery, please keep your eyes wide open. Keep that observing eye locked on the road ahead. But you can easily do the mental portion of this anywhere.
Perfect. Okay, step 1. Pause whatever you're doing and soften your body.
Physical tension always locks in mental tension. You physically cannot maintain a flexible, adaptable mind inside a rigid, tight body. Let your stomach completely go soft. Let it hang.
Okay, doing that. Step 2. Intentionally relax the jaw and drop the shoulders.
Those two areas are the body's primary stress containers. When you physically drop your shoulders down, you are actually hacking your vagus nerve. You are sending a biological signal to your brain that the immediate tiger has left the room.
On-screen text. Identify your assumptions. Step 3. Name what is true right now, but strictly in one sentence.
And you have to strip away all the emotional adjectives. Do not say, I am in a terrible, horrible, overwhelming mess. Just state the fact. I have a project deadline in exactly 1 hour. That is a fact.
Step 4. Name your ultimate objective in one sentence.
Say, I need to submit the opening paragraph. Extreme clarity of purpose cuts right through the emotional fog.
Step 5. Identify just one assumption that you are actively treating like a concrete fact.
This is usually the hardest part. Catch the thought that says, I assume my boss will absolutely hate this draft, or I assume I'm just not capable of finishing this. Catch the internal lie.
Step 6. Replace that negative assumption with a purely neutral question.
So instead of telling yourself they will hate it, simply ask your brain, what does the prompt actually require me to deliver?
Step 7. Choose the absolute smallest clean action you can possibly do right now.
Forward movement instantly breaks mental paralysis. Make the action so ridiculously small that you physically cannot fail. Just say, I will open the laptop lid. Or, I will open the software program.
Step 8. Commit to completing one proof action today.
Prove to yourself through action that you are firmly back in the driver's seat. Prove you had control.
Taking a breath. I genuinely feel lighter. It's so funny, absolutely nothing about my real-world problems actually changed during those 60 seconds. The deadlines are all still sitting there, but that crushing weight of it all is just gone.
Because you wiped the mirror. The challenging reflection is still completely visible, but the blinding smudge of panic is gone.
Now, even with a great exercise like that, people are definitely going to get this wrong. So let's talk about the common mistakes and how to fix them. What's the most frequent way people mess up trying to reach the void?
Mistake number 1 is definitely falling into false emptiness. Just totally zoning out. People think I'll just forcefully blank my mind and stare at the wall. That is just a daydream. That is being asleep at the wheel of your life.
And the fix for that?
Extreme alertness. Musashi's version of the void is a state of high-definition, razor-sharp focus. You should actually be more aware of the room you're in, not less. You should hear the quiet hum of the refrigerator. You should feel the subtle movement of the air on your skin.
Got it. What's the next mistake?
Trying to forcefully mandate a clear mind. You sit there aggressively gritting your teeth, intensely thinking to yourself, I must not think any thoughts. Psychologists call that the white bear problem. If I sternly tell you, do not think of a white bear, what is the very first thing you think of?
A giant white bear.
Exactly. The fix here is simple. Do not fight your own thoughts. Let them drift past your awareness like clouds in the sky. You cannot stop the clouds from moving, but you also don't have to reach up and grab them. Polishing your mental mirror is a gentle, highly consistent daily work.
What about the third mistake?
Intellectualizing the void. Ironically, we're doing a bit of that right now just by analyzing it so deeply. But merely memorizing the chemical formula for water does not mean you know how to swim when you're thrown in the deep end.
So what's the fix?
It has to be experiential. You physically cannot think your way into a state of not thinking. You must take action. You have to actively practice that rapid reset process right in the messy middle of your stress.
Mistake 4 is really interesting to me. Neglecting the physical body.
Musashi was, first and foremost, an elite physical athlete. He thoroughly understood that a collapsed, weakened physical body inevitably leads to a collapsed, anxious mind.
Mm.
If you're sitting there slumped over your desk, staring down at your phone, taking shallow little breaths, your primal brain literally thinks it is in a defensive, submissive mode. It perceives weakness.
On-screen text. Clarity is a practice, so the fix is just fixing your posture.
Yes, correct your posture. Stand up straight if you want to think straight. Physically expand your chest cavity. It immediately alters your internal neurochemistry.
And what's the final mistake?
Believing that you are permanently done. You experience one fleeting, beautiful moment of mental clarity while drinking your morning coffee, and you proudly think, "Ah, I have mastered the void. I am a modern Zen master."
And then life happens?
Exactly. The fix is realizing that this is a lifelong practice, not a final destination. You are absolutely going to get cluttered and confused again. 10 minutes from now, you're going to get an incredibly annoying text message from a relative, and you will instantly lose the void. The true skill isn't hovering in a state of permanent emptiness. The real skill is the speed of your reset. How remarkably fast can you catch yourself spiraling and wipe that mirror clean again?
It's all about elasticity and resilience, not some impossible standard of perfection.
Exactly right.
Okay, we have covered an immense amount of ground today. From that dark, rainy cave in Kyushu to a chaotic Boston police chase, all the way to managing a fluid email inbox. I really want to pull this all together. Let's recap the core takeaways of the void.
Let's flow right through them. First, emptiness is decidedly not nothingness. It is simply the total absence of confusion and mental distortion.
Next, we learned that confusion is always born from our own unexamined assumptions, our desperate emotional urgency, and our rigid attachment to our personal identity.
Then, to actually see reality clearly, we must fiercely distinguish the observing eye, which calmly takes in the whole picture, from the perceiving eye, which gets easily panicked by surface details.
Furthermore, maintaining clarity is a daily discipline. We have to actively simplify our mental frame and hold our ultimate objectives very lightly so we don't end up choking under the pressure of them.
And we absolutely must avoid the seductive trap of apathy. True, deep calm always leads directly to decisive, effective action.
We can practically apply the void to our work, our relationships, and our bad habits simply by dropping the fictional stories we've invented and relentlessly seeking out the cold, hard facts.
Finally, we can always use the void reset. Just pause, physically soften the body, calmly name the real truth of the situation, and simply find the next right step.
On-screen text, see the truth. See the truth. That really is the ultimate mantra here, isn't it?
That is the ultimate goal of the entire philosophy.
This has been such an incredible, eye-opening journey through Musashi's 5 elements. We started out on the solid, foundational ground of earth. We learned to flow through water. We discovered the fierce intensity of fire. We mapped the adaptive strategy of wind. And today, we finally found the profound clarity of the void. But we actually aren't quite done with Musashi yet.
No, we have one more crucial step to take. Episode 9 is going to be something really special. We are officially calling it Notes, Practical Field Guide and Key Maxims.
On-screen text. Next, the field guide. What exactly are we going to be tackling in that one?
We're going to take absolutely everything we've discussed, from Earth all the way through to the void, and we're going to aggressively condense it into a highly actionable field manual for your daily life. It's going to be the ultimate cheat sheet, the exact maxims you can write down on a sticky note and slap right onto your computer monitor.
The ultimate how-to guide for the modern, everyday samurai. I honestly cannot wait to dig into that one. Do you have any final parting thoughts on the void before we wrap up?
I think my final thought is just, Musashi's ultimate lesson is that the way is always found in the daily training. The void isn't some mystical, magical destination you only arrive at when you die. It is completely available to you right now. It is right there, hovering just behind the daily noise, right beneath the surface of your anxiety. You just have to be willing to wipe the mirror.
The void is always available. That is a deeply comforting thought to carry forward. Thanks for being here. If you want the full series, check the playlist, and please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Pass, 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 pass.